Sometimes I really wonder why we're even doing this. I'm in a funny place right now. Sometimes I like to pretend I'm somewhere else.
The problem here is that it's like... So what are you gonna do?
It all started with building this table.
And you wanted your spice racks.
We've called our boat some bad things, but really, it's always just been very simple. When we bought it, it had 8 berths and absolutely no storage.
Before we bought our fixer-upper, we had plans to build a boat from the ground up. But somewhere along the line, our plans changed, and we decided to take on this project instead. After working on it for a year, we got a little bit worn down.
We never intended on going to the Caribbean, but after hearing a lot of exciting stories, we decided we probably should just take a year off from boat work.
Before we knew it, 1 year turned into 5.
There was a year exploring Venezuela on the black market currency.
We spent 2 years bouncing between the big city in Colombia and the jungles of Panama.
We hadn't been home in over 5 years, but Honduras and Guatemala were pretty interesting, so we spent another year poking around there.
Before that, we went to a bunch of French, English, and Dutch islands.
Islands are like... You know, they've got... shells. Lots of shells. Palm trees and beaches. Hamburger beans.
You can only wander around tropical paradise picking up shells and trinkets for so long before you start to get hungry for some kind of creative outlet.
You start to feel like there's something missing. I never thought it would happen, but after a while, you start to get tired of islands.
So 10 years later, after 2 summers in New York City and 1 summer in Maine,
And 2 winters in the Bahamas.
we decided it was time to finish up this boat and make a few changes.
We've always had a few problems with the layout of our boat.
The biggest problem we've had is that the head is in the front of the boat, and along with not having a shower in our boat, we've never had any kind of wet storage area. A lot of times you get all soaked with salt water and you have to clamber through your office, your kitchen, and your living room just to get to the bathroom.
If you've ever gotten your ass kicked in a storm out at sea, then you know the last place you want to go to take care of business is up into the thrashing bow of the boat. Salt water never dries, so it leaves everything feeling nasty.
We always thought it'd be great if our head was in the back of the boat, by the entrance. That way we'd have someplace to chuck wet foulies and maybe even take a shower indoors when it's cold outside, or we're tied up to a pier in the middle of some town or something.
This also gives us 2 hatches in the bedroom for better airflow. So this is our aft berth that we're changing over to our head, and as you can see, we have a ways to go. There used to be a double berth in here, which was basically this entire area, but it was never really a bed. We usually kept all of our scuba gear and fishing gear, and we actually had our mountain bikes that we would keep in this area here. So it was basically the garage, and in order to make it into a head, we've removed this portion of the berth. So in this area here, we're going to build in cabinets, and they're going to go all the way up to the ceiling, and then we'll still have storage underneath this area here. This is the rear of the engine compartment. There's the transmission, and some wires, and some switches, but that's not my department. Above the compartment of the engine here, we're going to build up a wash basin so we can have a sink above it. And next to it, we're going to build a cabinet to mount the membrane for the water maker that we plan on building if we don't run out of money or time first. We've always had a cat on board with us, which is great for stress relief when you're in a hectic situation, but dealing with litter in a tiny place can be really trying sometimes. So one of the things we're doing in our refit is we're making a space for the cat's litter. Oh. Sorry. So the plan here is to put a shower, and in order to do that we need to build a drain pan under the floor. But it's going to be kind of a challenge because the bilge is really shallow here, and we're not exactly sure how that's all going to work. There used to be a wall that went in this area here that had an 18 by 12 inch opening, and behind it was tons of storage, but neither of us ever wanted to crawl through there. So we would end up just shoving all kinds of stuff through there and forgetting about it. And just like every other stuff hole in our boat, it wasn't insulated. So in the summertime, everything would cook in the heat, or in the winter or when we were in cold water, everything would get wet with condensation. So we've removed this small piece of bulkhead and we're creating an easily accessible deep storage area back there. And this is the toilet. It's not actually the toilet, it's more like a visual aid. This project's gotten a little out of control. Our new plan is to get our boat ready and outfit it to take us to cold places. And when it's ready, we'd like to travel to the northern ice fields. And we'd like to take you along for the ride. If you want to find out more, click here to join the adventure. Oh, and one more thing. We don't exactly have the same idea of how to decorate this space, so if you have any ideas, leave a comment below.
The gyrations of this needle indicate that the storm will cause a gigantic tidal wave that'll completely wash over the island.
That's bad.